Oh, man.
And that you can also check on Wikipedia. That's not fringe. Just the interpretation again would be fringe, but it's normal.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. And I think even the some researchers have pointed to the connection between Atlantis and the sea. Isn't that right?
That's right. Yeah, I've heard William Henry talk about a Red Sea shape as connected to Atlantis, and that's also something that I keep mulling over in my head. Where does the Red Sea come from? Connected to the Red Sea, perhaps?
Exactly.
The actual body of water?
Yeah.
Or, what exactly is that Red Sea? Is it connected to the reef symbol, which is a sort of a C shape that you'll see around the UN flag? Like the reef of the Romans. I don't know. I keep mulling over the C shape. It could also be the canals of Plato's Atlantis had one big trench going through, so maybe that cut is where the Atlantean Sea comes from.
Ah, yeah, like the concentric circles going around more and more inwards.
Right.
Yeah.
Cut by one major canal, so maybe that's the connection to the Red Sea. So yeah, and you could also think of the pillars of Twin Towers as the Atlantean pillars, the pillars of Hercules. So there's an Atlantis connection there as well. And if we think of Francis Bacon and the New Atlantis and the New World Order, and then we're sort of at the same stuff, whether we think of them as Jacob and Boaz or the Pillars of Atlantis or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah. It goes kind of round and round in that entire area where a few key concepts or mythologies keeps repeating and coming up, again and again and again, and you can find it, in everything. And that's the the incredible thing with your work also, that you kind of incorporate that and the, one thing that I wanted to ask you about also, of course, is because you mentioned United 93, and there is even in that film a connection to the Wizard of Oz with the Emerald City, right?
That's right. Yeah, one of the passengers on board in the film United 93 looks at the guy sitting next to him, and he's explaining to him how beautiful New York City was, and he says it looked like Emerald City, and then so there's another 9/11 connection to the Wizard of Oz, and I've strung them all together in that video, and people can go have a look if they want to get a feel. It's difficult to explain synchromysticism when you're talking, because you want to sort of talk while you're seeing the image. But we can definitely try.
Absolutely, yeah, of course. And even the another guy that comes up again is the in the Wiz or the original, as I should say, the Wizard of Oz. The face that is portrayed, very similar to Iowa's. We have the Crowley connection again. We have even the connection with the typical gray, I guess, and that connects with your work, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. And another thing about Crowley that we should remember is that he meditated in the King's Chamber, the sacred cuboid of the Abrahamic faith. And I follow Michael Tessarian and Ralph Ellis's thinking on this matter when it comes to the Muslim, the Jewish, and the Christian faiths, and Masonry as well, being all traced back to ancient Egypt and perhaps further into Atlantis or whatever that thread seems to go beyond Egypt to somewhere. It might not be exactly what we think. I have different ideas on Atlantis, but that's something I'm developing right now.
Yeah.
Again, if you have to at least take it as far back as the pyramids and Egypt to get the mega ritual idea of the Stargate and Aleister Crowley and how it all connects to the World Trade Center.
Yeah, absolutely. In your previous articles, you pointed out also the incredible connection between the entire Manhattan area as the representation, I guess, of the primordial mound, I guess.
Yes, that's right. It seemed to me I discovered on a certificate, a Masonic third degree initiation certificate, or whatever you'd call it. I bought one at a flea market, and on it I found like an incredible picture of the mound rising from the waters, which is the Egyptian creation myth. It's like a rock, the primordial mound coming out of the water, and on top of it is the three candles that you'll see in the lodge in Masonry.
Yeah.
And if you follow the first degree tracing board symbolism again with the three pillars, which Ralph Ellis connects to the pyramids of Egypt, then the idea is that we're looking at the mound which is sort of like Giza, or even the Ben, whatever you'd like to call it, and on top of this is the three pyramids, or the three pillars.
Yeah.
Then that's exactly what was the main things that were happening on 9/11 on Manhattan Island, with these three pillars on the mound, the Manhattan Island coming out of the water. So that symbolism seems to be even on the entire island.
Because I don't know if you know, but isn't that... do you know if the entire area is actually built afterwards, or were there some land there originally?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Okay, yeah, interesting nonetheless.
So,
yeah, you know, I'm
about photos where you can see the Statue of Liberty sort of, looking standing very near that island. It's all Egyptian. It's right there.
Yeah.
I think people get stuck at tracing it back to Templars and tracing it back to, you have to go back to Egypt at least in your thinking.
Yeah.
To get what's happening here.
Yeah, I agree.
Or ancient Egypt at least.
Ancient Egypt, yeah, Egypt. I'm thinking about the concept of illumination. You're talking about this also a bit in your latest video, and one thing I find a little bit interesting, of course, is the fact that New York itself actually is referred to as of course the Big Apple.
Right.
And there might be a hint in there, I don't know, about the the forbidden fruit, or the fruit of knowledge, or illumination. Then I guess, I don't know.
The apple of Iris, which is another version of Isis, and the forbidden fruit for sure. The Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
Being in my mind like a story connected to Akhenaten and connected to the Atlantean myth again. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. You know that because the connection between, as you say, illumination or cosmic illumination and the 9/11 ritual, the question is kind of what that is. One interpretation I got was that 9/11, then if I'm thinking about your latest video or your work here, and one of the things I was thinking about was that this event is a symbolic representation of either it's the destruction of illumination or it's the initiation of illumination, meaning that from that point in time, either illumination won't be possible, or that it's from this point that illumination will be possible. What's your idea about that?
Well, I think you're right in seeing it as both at once, because it does seem to be like it's either the beginning of like this really dark phase or the beginning of a really bright phase, depending on what we do and what we take out of the event of 9/11 and how we live our lives now, and what we do with the information we've learned about 9/11 and perhaps from 9/11. So I lean towards seeing it as an unveiling of light, as opposed from destruction. But they destroyed the pillars,
yeah,
and you can't get around that there's this weird either contradiction or a duality about the symbolism.
Indeed, I'm thinking about, of course, the next step, as it were, in the process, because I know that you refer to this, the new, now when the Freedom Tower is going up there, that this has been kind of, the 11 years of kind of a Stargate opening, I guess?
Mm-hmm.
And
the Freedom Tower obviously showing that the whole thing isn't complete, that there's still something happening at the World Trade Center Plaza.
Yeah.
With the occult symbolism at play in the Freedom Tower is just insane. Its number of feet in height is the founding date of the Illuminati.
Yeah.
It has this giant torch theme to it. It's got an octagon from the top. It's actually replete with symbolism. We're probably still decoded. It's standing on a cubic shape, a perfect cube, and then the tower sort of juts out of that. So it's all the symbolism sort of rolled into one, and to be completed on 2012.
Yeah.
So is that sort of the ending of this ritual, or is that when the ritual is finally complete? I don't know. These are ideas which I keep trying to fit together. And maybe if more people will also look into this area, we can work it out together.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. I think the very dualistic in that way, because I feel it's like a taunt against the idea of freedom. I'm thinking about it like this, because they have performed the World Trade Center ritual on this spot, and they kind of what should I call it? They load, so to speak, the area with very much negative association. Even people's intention, energy from all the people across the world who think about the World Trade Center, think about this area, and now they're building what they refer to as the Freedom Tower on that exact same spot.
Yeah.
So the question is it a taunt against freedom, or what is it?
Well, that's a very complex question, and they raise so many issues. I see it as it's possible that the people who instigated 9/11, they didn't create this situation. They sort of moved with time and tide. Like there's a cosmic force that goes through everything. And 2012 is part of this sort of celestial, these big gears that are shifting over. And it's just because the conspiracy elites are so in tune with these that they move with them. And we'll see their footprint in these events because they're guiding and initiating these things. What we have to decide is whether we agree with what they're doing, or whether we would like to understand exactly what their goals are, so that we can go, okay, well, our overseers or the smartest people are in charge of the ship, and that's I feel comfortable with that. Or maybe we're going to go, no, I think they're homicidal maniacs who are killing us en masse for their rituals. I don't know, but I think this area at least needs to be accepted by us, that they are using us for rituals.
Yeah.
Do we want them to? Do we agree with their purposes? That's why these areas need so much. That's why we need to look into them and investigate them. Because I don't feel like I have all these answers. I feel like I have a finger pointing. I don't have a final answer.
Yeah.
I have just as many questions about this 9/11 mega ritual.
And that's good, because that will keep you continue searching. And in a way, I think that is the important thing, the journey itself, and maybe not the goal. I don't know.
Yeah, I see it also as perhaps they have unconsciously become a figure for us to overcome. Like they've twisted into a dark side, and now we have to rise to the occasion. And maybe the really top-level secret society initiates know this, that they've taken on the force, the dark force, so that mankind can rise to the challenge to overcome them, and then we've evolved, and then we've learned.
Oh.
But so that's also a possibility. But there's so many dynamics. Like the moment you're reaching into these higher sort of spheres where you're thinking symbolically and metaphorically, and things take on many dualities, and the differences between good and evil become very flimsy and relative, and all this sort of thing. I just feel you got to guide yourself with trying to get rid of all the fear and ignorance inside you, and just work towards the love and enlightenment and humility, and you trying to really come to terms with the labyrinth of possibilities could drive you nuts. You just got to keep aiming towards knowledge of yourself, and then
and
part of this is to unravel these mysteries about what's happening in our environment, which is why I'm so into this 9/11 thing.
Absolutely, and in a way, as things are now, it does seem that humans or most humans, I guess I should say, actually needs a portrayal of darkness, or they need a period of turmoil to be able to locate themselves in the at least mentally in the sphere of okay, I can recognize that this is darkness, this is bad, this is something that tells me something, and from that, at least now I know more, I know where I'm going, and as you say, this is a very, I think, delicate area, of course, because you're prancing on the borderline between, okay, are these guys insane, or is this something very brilliant